Hello everyone, I am Shane1288, and here's your weekly RuneScape Byte for Monday, January 22nd, 2018. The weekly RuneScape Byte aims to provide you with the important details of the week's RuneScape update while showcasing some of the important, consequential, or just hilarious patch note from the week's update as well. Now on to this week's updates. The Aura Bag is now here, and the Aura Bag started at last year's Game Jam and received several updates along the way to make it the update that we received today. The idea behind this is that it is to collect all your auras into a single space, saving you bank space and making them easier to access on the whole. Upon logging, you'll find that all auras have been removed from your bank. To access the aura interface, all you need to do is go to your Worn Equipment panel and click the aura button at the bottom. From here, you can filter auras by various types, including skilling, combat, and a view showing you all auras that you currently own. After, it's as simple as clicking Activate. You can even buy new auras from this menu. This really streamlines the whole process of using auras and further begs the question of if a bank rework is truly needed. We'll be discussing this on this week's RSBANDB update. Also this week, Bakriminel Bolts received a much-needed update. So you might be wondering, what are Bakriminel Bolts? Well, they're bolts that were added back in 2012, and they're fletched from the rare bloodwood trees found around the world. Players then add bolt tips to them bought by Mami Rimba north of Edgeville. These bolts were initially underpowered because while having a ranged requirement of level 80, they only had a damage level of 720, putting them on par with a mid to high tier 70 ranged weapon. Today, we can add tips to these bolts, taking them all the way up to tier 95 ranged damage, and along with this comes a level 99 ranged requirement. So now let's have a look at some of the effects. Opal gives you the Lucky Lightning perk that gives you a 5% chance to perform 10% more damage. Pearl Bolts will give you Sea Curse, which is a 5% chance to perform 15% more damage to enemies that are weak to water. And this will also perform 15% less damage on enemies that are weak to fire, and it stops enemies from running in PvP. Sapphire gives you Clear Mind, which is a 5% chance to steal 5% of your maximum prayer points from your opponent. Now Diamond takes us up to Armor Piercing, which is a 5% chance to hit with 100% accuracy and deal up to 15% more damage. Now all the way up at the very top end we have Hydrix, which grants Deathmark, and that's a 10% chance to instantly provide 10% adrenaline and an additional 1% adrenaline from basic abilities for 15 seconds. We'll have full analysis on this week's episode of RSBANDB Update, highlighting which of these benefits are best for each situation. So with that being said, which is your favorite effect? And of course, we can see the slow ramp up to the inevitable tier 92 crossbows that will be later dropped by Solak. But that's enough with the updates for the week. Let's move on to the patch notes. In this week's patch notes, we have a follow-up from last week regarding sandstone. This week, splitting 5 kilogram blocks of granite into 500 gram pieces now gives 10 pieces instead of 12. Players can now also buy each of the damaged god books from Josik before completing prior books. The display of overhead target information was rewritten in order to fix an issue with the background layer becoming transparent unintentionally. This rewrite also improves the responsiveness and accuracy of the health bar. Items no longer appear invisible in players' inventories and banks, and the world map tutorial is now only 1 page long, and the tutorial can now be repeated by using the help button on the map. And that's all we got for the weekly RuneScape Byte for January 22nd, 2018. If you found this useful or you want RSBANDB Update delivered to you automatically, like or subscribe. You can also find us in-game at FriendsChat's BitsBytes or on Twitter at RSBANDB. You can also ask us a question for the podcast on Twitter, or you can visit update.rsbnb.com/ask. See you this weekend for another episode of RSBANDB Update.